Hey guys, good day. Hey, my friend Petra put out a video earlier today, and she called it February Things Converging Once Again. And I want to piggyback onto her video with maybe some more clues that she had. I have a document here. You guys can download this document. It's got 6 clues that all point to the middle of February. Now I know that no one knows the day of the hour. But Paul tells us in 1 Thessalonians, he says, "But concerning the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I should write to you." So it looks like what Paul is saying here is that we will know the times and the seasons. Now, that's why I titled this document, "You Shall Know the Times and the Seasons." And I'm just offering up February 2019. Petra showed me a few things this morning, and she put a video out, and a couple other things came to mind for me. So before I get too far along, I just want to remind everybody about 1 Corinthians 14, verse 33. Paul tells us, he says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints." So I know that God, in some ways, he's just very simple and easy to understand, like the gospel message. Now, other things are a little more complicated, but I'm going to look at a few things here that to me seem pretty darn simple. So I did a video a while back where I talked about the tribulation, and I know it threw some people like a curveball. They weren't really getting it, and I just want to jump back to that just a little bit. So, if you're a pre-tribulation believer, pre-tribulation quote rapture believer, you've probably read this verse 29, and you've probably wondered what is Jesus saying? He says, "Immediately after the tribulation of those days." Then he says these things, these 4 things. The sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. So what he says here, he says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the 6th seal. That's what he says. So if the 6th seal, and that's what that is, the 6th seal, we'll look at it in a second. If he says after the 6th seal, so immediately after this time of tribulation, then the 6th seal. So I want to show you just a picture of some scripture to help make this make sense. So here it is again. Here's Jesus right here. He says, "Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light." So that essentially this verse 29 is the 6th seal. Now this is the Revelation over here to the right. This is Revelation 6. Okay? And the 6th seal starts at verse 12. So immediately after the tribulation is the first 5 seals. Immediately after the tribulation, then the 6th seal. See, this has nothing to do with the 42 months of the Antichrist ruling, or the woman being nourished for 1260 days, or this is the way Jesus describes the tribulation. Jesus is saying the tribulation is the first 5 seals. Then the 6th seal. Let me show you something else about the Great Tribulation. Here it is again, Matthew 24, referring to the 6th seal. And we see that this first 5 seals are the tribulation, according to Jesus. Then we learn in Revelation 7, when John sees that great multitude of people standing before the throne. They've obviously been raptured. Remember over here, after this, then they will see the Son of Man. This is Matthew 24. Then they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds, and he will gather his elect. Well, the gathering of his elect at the 6th seal is seen in Revelation, because the guy who's talking to John, he says, these are the ones coming out of the Great Tribulation, which is the 6th seal. So the Great Tribulation is the 6th seal. And the other tribulation, the one Jesus talks about over here, is the first 5 seals. That's how we can decode what this means. And we haven't even gotten to Revelation 11, which is the 42 months that the witnesses are there. Revelation 12, the woman's in the nurse in the wilderness for 1260 days. We haven't gotten to Revelation 13 yet, where all this happens before the Antichrist takes rule of the earth. But typically people say that when the Antichrist is ruling the world for 42 months, like it says in Revelation 13, they call that the tribulation, or the Great Tribulation. But that's not what Jesus and John say it is. Okay, so I just wanted to make that point from the last video here, and I just want to say that God is not the author of confusion. So we should not get confused with using the words of the Bible to define these terms, great tribulation and tribulation. All right, so back to the clues. So since God is not the author of confusion, Jesus tells us this. He says, "For as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be with the coming of the Son of Man." So in the days of Noah, we saw that the rain began to fall. Now, the rain won't fall a second time because God gave us a promise. He gave Noah a promise with a bow in the sky, a rainbow. He said, "I will not flood the world again with water, but we know he'll do it with fire." So in the second month, on the 17th day of the second month, on that day, the fountains of the deep burst, and the windows of heaven were opened, and rain, or for us, fire, will fall upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. Now, I'm just making that assertion that when the fire falls, it will be as in the days of Noah. It turns out that the tribulation, according to Baruch, is 7 weeks. So that's like a 40-day time period. Okay. So I'm just saying, for us, because God is not the author of confusion, that could Jesus really mean that on the second month, the 17th day, the fire will fall? Could be. It's a clue. Okay. Donald Trump gave us a command to return to Jerusalem. So the United States, okay, the tribe of Ephraim, the leader of the northern tribes, the former house of Israel, will return on December 6th. We built our embassy and opened it up. The command to come back was on December 6th, 2017. Obviously, they made it back on. They opened the embassy on May 14th, 2018. But there's this reference in Daniel 9 about these 62 weeks. Now, I'm not saying this is a direct match, but it sure seems like it's close. So if you take December 6, 2017, and you add 62 weeks to it, it lands on February 14th, 2019. All right, another clue. Clue number 3, God's Healer 7 has had this prophecy time frame from September 24th, 2015 to April 6, 2019. She just calls it a prophecy time frame. It turns out it's 1,290 days. If the prophecy time frame is the end of the church age, okay, and we just say we subtract 7 weeks from there, for when the time of trial begins, it lands on February 16, 2019. Just very close to the same days. Here we got a bunch of clues all landing in the middle of February. Now, if you go to Wikipedia and you look up Adar, the month of Adar, for some reason on Wikipedia, they tell us that the plague of darkness at the time of Moses in Egypt, it started on the first day of Adar, 6 weeks before the Exodus. So Adar 1 is February 17th. Here's Enoch's calendar. Adar 1's up here. 12th month, February 17th. Kind of interesting. We also learned that the month of February, the meaning of the word February, it got its meaning from purgings or purification. Now we know that the bride is going to be purified and make herself white before she can be fully raptured as one bride. Now there is this reference to this month. There is a feast, I can't pronounce this, where it's all about becoming purified. It's a festival, and it's where February got its name, like I just mentioned. And it's associated with purgings and purification. So Petra did mention that too. Now the 6th clue is I'm going to play you a video from 2012. I find this, you can't make this stuff up. People want to call her a false prophet, but let's just see what she said. If I can get to it here. Listen to what she says. She talks about purifications, believe it or not.
Instead of my 7 scepters dream, you would know, and the Lord revealed this like again this morning, that I put 7 scepters which belong to the king in a large pot, and I cover them with water. So that is for cleansing and purification. So the day begins now and it ends on Purim.
Yes.
And that is not a word that we ever heard of before.
So this video came out on March 10th, 2012 at the time of Purim then. And they were told that it's going to end on Purim 2019. They didn't say that there, but they say it here. So with that, guys, that's another clue. There's 2 Purims this year. There's the little Purim, and then there's the regular Purim, which is in the 13th month. This year we have a 13th month on the calculated Hebrew calendar. So anyway, we still have little Purim on February 19th and 20th. We got all this purification for February. Enoch's calendar, the April 6th date minus the 7 weeks. The 62 weeks plus Donald Trump's command to return to Jerusalem. And of course, we got the words of Jesus in Genesis. So with that, guys, look, I don't know the day or the hour. I'm just pointing to the time frame, to the times and the seasons. With that, guys, have a great day, and God bless.